You know, we are hardwired for storytelling. We are. In his new book, I Think I Swallowed an Elephant, author Bryan Eisenberg writes that your brain is wired for storytelling. But the question is, are the stories that you're telling leading to success? See, you have to think of yourself as a brand. And to Brian's point, if you want to grow your brand, then you must create a story that others want to be a part of. And it's the kind of story that they tell themselves when they think about you. How do you want to be thought of? It's all dependent on how you tell a story. See, everybody's a storyteller, but most people tell stories that consist of the 3 P's: people, problems, or politics. It's what they talk about. They talk about others. They talk about their personal problems. Or they talk about administrations, governments. If they were king for a day, this is what they would do, but here's the problem, what they're not doing. And they get trapped in this loop of telling that story. And if you think back to, go back to when you were a kid. You didn't complain. You didn't talk about people, politics, or problems. All you were trying to do was just play. Even if you were grounded and you were confined to your room, you may have complained for a few minutes, but after that, you just adjusted and figured out how to play by yourself. And you made a day out of it. But somewhere along the way, probably as responsibilities started mounting up and you had to pay your own way through the world, you had rent, car note, insurance. And what started off as minor annoyances, now you're just perpetually talking about people, politics, and your own personal problems. And that's all you talk about. You probably don't even realize this. As I was writing this morning and really giving it reflection, I was like, man, pay attention to what you're talking about. Pay attention to the kind of stories that you're telling. The line that grabbed me and just made me just run with this whole thought was, does your storytelling lead to success? Basically, does your storytelling lead to your desired outcome? See, you're stuck because of your stories. And if you'll change the ongoing narrative, you'll change the eventual outcome. See, there's traditional storytelling, which is what most people do. They talk about people, politics, problems. They absolve themselves of any responsibility. So that's the traditional storytelling. Or you can move into something more productive. It's storytelling, but with a twist. It's story selling. See, you should be selling a story all the time, not only to yourself, but others who are around you. Story selling sets standards and becomes standards for you to live by. And I love story selling because, see, selling is active. It requires your participation. It requires a lot of effort. So you'll put in a lot of effort, but it's not 100%. You're selling 100% of the time, but the results shake out more like 30, 40%. But in that 30 or 40%, more than compensates for the other 70% that you put in there, because you're building skill sets, know-how, collaboration, connections. You're building these things, commitment, all kinds of different things. So you can't do that when you're just storytelling. Storytelling by itself is passive. It's easy to just point the finger. That person's the problem. That administration's the problem. Man, let me tell you about all the hardships I've had. Let me tell you about my ongoing problems right now. Let me tell you about the unfairness. That's storytelling. That's a passive sport. Yeah, it's easy to say that. But the story selling requires you to put in the effort. And so you're constantly selling a story of desires, of goals, of possibilities, of outcomes, of projects, of visions. That's what you're selling. That's what story selling is versus just traditional storytelling. Everything that comes out of your mouth should be selling a story to yourself and to others that you're going to figure out a way to succeed. And let me tell you something. When you continuously tell this story of desires, of possibilities, of projects, of dreams, of goals, when you're telling that story all the time and that's all you talk about, the wrong people, the people that only want to talk about gossip and don't want to talk about growth, they'll fade away. They don't want to be around you because you're talking about movement forward. And shit, they're just stuck in the past. When you're story selling, you're figuring out a way to be a success. That's what you're selling. Success. And success is a mixture of both wins and losses. You need the wins to push you through these losses, to keep going. But you also need the losses to improve your skills, your know-how, your efficiencies, so that way you can win again, but at a higher level. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not going to get stuck. You're going to get stuck. You're going to get blindsided. There are going to be times where you just don't have any answers. But no matter what, when you're facing these challenges, when you have the mindset of storytelling through story selling, but instead of reverting back to the traditional way of storytelling, passively talking about people, politics, problems, you keep story selling, seeking a solution. So the problem that you're facing, you just haven't found the solution yet you stay committed. You stay faithful. You keep building your skill sets. Sometimes that delay is just a layer of protection. It is. And you won't realize that until things kind of play out. Doesn't mean you just sit there. Doesn't mean you complain. You work while you wait. That develops that faith. And then sometimes that delay, these challenges that you face, because you're story selling, constantly iterating, evolving, challenging, looking for solutions, figuring things out, asking yourself good questions, not sitting around commiserating with a bunch of bullshit, low-energy people, not turning to vices to escape. No, you're figuring things out, man. You're in the lab. And so when you get challenged with these things and you have this delay, you build that infrastructure. So that way, some of this is an internal game, even though you can't see the results yet. You got to have that foundation, that infrastructure, so that when you succeed, you can handle the success too. So you can have success, but can you handle the success? That's two totally different skill sets. Having it, most people can have it. But can you handle it? Can you work with it? Can you make it grow? Not if all you're doing is storytelling, talking about people, politics, or problems. You must always be story selling. Pay attention to the storytelling today. Not only in yourself, but also in others. You're going to be shocked. But you can't control them. You can only control you. So pay attention more to your storytelling. What's that style? Are you complaining about people, politics, and problems? Or will you shift over and start story selling? Selling your goals, your dreams, your possibilities, your projects, your desires. And so when you're not around, what's the story people think about you? Is it a story of sorrow? Oh, poor guy. Or is it a story of success? Man, that cat was challenged, but he figured it out. That's the kind of person I want to be around. That's you. Be sure and grab a copy of Bryan Eisenberg's book, I Think I Swallowed the Elephant. It's going to be released on June 2nd. He's a great guy to connect to on both Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and TikTok. He's on all of them. Thanks, Bryan, for the inspiration for this piece. Let's get out of here. Keep it simple, keep it moving, never settle, stay tough. Peace.